In this episode, we are going to talk about four finished objects and 2 new patterns that I released. So let's get started. Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as Die Boervrou, and this is episode 42 of the Crafty Stitches Podcast. Today is Thursday, the 27th of July 2023, and I'm coming to you from South Africa. I was very surprised to actually see that we are on episode 42. It feels like yesterday that I started this podcast, but anyway, seems I made 42 episodes so far, or 41 and busy with the 42nd. So anyway, let's get straight into this episode. I have 4 finished objects to show you, and 1 almost finished project and 2 other works in progress, apart from my 2 sewing projects that is still ongoing. Alright, so let's start with finished projects. So this is my 4th ranunculus that I have knitted. This is the first one that I actually made in a fingering weight yarn, and I have to say I'm quite surprised at how warm it is for a fingering weight garment. I didn't expect that. But anyway, so this yarn is from Yama Fiber Arts Craft and Design. This is a merino linen singles. It is 90% merino and 10% linen, and it has approximately 360 meters on 100 grams. And for this garment I used 268 grams of yarn, so just less than 1,000 meters. I think so, if I remember correctly when I worked it out. So for this one I have changed the sleeves to have ribbing, as my other one does have. I first just made the I-cord bind off, and when I washed and blocked the garment, my sleeves grew with I think 4 centimeters. I tried to pull it into more width like I did with the previous one, but it did not want to stay. So I ripped out the I-cord and I ripped back a little bit, and then I decided to just do a ribbed cuff. So that's what I did. I followed the decrease instructions in section 9 for the sleeves, and then I just did a knit through the back loop and a purl stitch for the cuff. I think I did 13 rounds and then just did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I followed the instructions for the cast on. I did the smaller neckline and on my 4.5 millimeter needles, because I knit the whole garment in 4.5 millimeters, except for the sleeve cuffs and the hem of the sweater that I did in 4 millimeter needles. But this I did in a 4.5. I followed the instructions, except for I omitted the front short rows because the designer intended this to be a boat neck garment and I don't like that very much, so I just omitted the short rows in the front, but I did do them in the back. And then I did more increases here at the raglan until it fit me, and I think next time I might do even like 2 more on my sleeve side, just to have a little bit more space here, because at this moment I'm wearing this garment without a sleeved shirt underneath. I've got a sleeveless top on, and when I have a shirt with sleeves, it is just as if it's just a little bit too little space. It's not annoying, but I find that because this sits on top of my sleeve so tightly, as my sleeve move, this sleeve rides up and go down and does what I don't think it should do. But anyway, so that is the sleeve. I didn't do any decreases for the sleeve. until I got just before the cuff. So I knit them straight. And what else did I not do? I don't know. I think I didn't do any A-line shaping in the body or anything. The pattern is also just knit straight. I lengthened the sweater quite a lot, and I shortened the bottom ribbing quite a lot. I think I just did half the centimeters of ribbing that is called for in the pattern. And I also did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off for the bottom hem. I think that is everything that I changed in this Ranunculus. I did make quite a lot of notes on my Ravelry project page, so if you're interested you can check that out. I will pop a picture up here for you to see what the Ranunculus looks like on me. I did take pictures of that yesterday, and I did wear this garment all day yesterday, and this morning when I got dressed I was like, I want to wear it again. So on the body it went, and I'm wearing it again today. Alright, I think that is everything that I needed to say for this finished project. And then I do have another finished project that I already gifted, so I will just put up some pictures on the screen while I'm talking about it. I knit another one of my simple shaped cowls in the double knit yarn. I used the L5050 double knit for this project as well. It is a 50% acrylic, 50% superwash wool. It has 150 meters on a 50-gram ball, and I used the color 051, which is gray. I do have the ball here, the leftover that I can show you. So that is what it looks like. It's a lovely yarn. I really enjoyed working with this, and I made this simple shaped cowl with it as a gift for a friend, and I already washed and blocked and gifted the cowl, so I do not have it anymore. But the project page will also be linked down below if you're interested and you want to check that out. I will be talking about these shaped cowls a little bit more in the news section of the podcast, because I did release the pattern for this and I brought my own sample and 2 others to show you a little bit later. Alright, then I also knit the shaped cowl with the 3.5 and 4mm needles as recommended in the pattern. And what else? I think I used a little bit less for the grey one, like 4 grams or something. Maybe my tension changed a little bit, but all of that is noted in the project page. Right. The next finished project is my socks. So in the previous episode I was still busy with sock 2 of the pair, and I was on the heel turn, and the second sock is now finished. So I knit these socks. Let me backtrack. So this pair of socks is a design by myself. It's called the Felicity Socks. It is knit toe up with a gusset heel turn and slip stitch heel flap, and I knit these for summer sock camp hosted by the Crazy Sock Lady, and I also knit my second sock for Sock Week that was hosted by Nitty Natty from the Love and Stitches podcast. So I actually did finish it in time. I did not submit it because I never do. I always just participate for the fun of it. But this is my second sock and the pair is finished. I have weaved in the ends. I have blocked the socks. So after that, this episode is finished. So after the podcast, I can actually wear these socks. They are completely finished. Everything is done. So the yarn that I used for these socks was some Estheresa Yarn Creations yarn. It is a 20% kit mohair, 30% nylon and 50% superwash wool blend. It is a 4-ply yarn and it has 390 meters on 100 grams. I used a 2.25 millimeter needle for this, and I knit it with 9-inch circulars. Apart from the toe, I did the toe on magic loop, as I do all of them. And I cannot remember how much yarn I used for the pair of socks, but this is what I have left. And I think I used more than 60 grams but less than 70. I'm not exactly sure, but it is also noted on my project page. Alright, so I'm very happy about the socks being finished. Let me put this away. I was using this little marker from Annegret from Tunisian Crochet as a progress keeper. So pretty. Really like that one. Right, that is the socks. Good. And then I have another finished object, and this project almost needs to be framed because it took me so long to get one done. I started on this project last winter and I only finished it now. So I finished the hat that I was making for my husband. I am using, let me do the yarn quickly, the Owl Family Knit chunky yarn. This is a 100% acrylic yarn. It's got 80 meters on 50 grams, and this is the colorway Ash number 417. And I used a 5mm needle for this project, and this is what the hat looks like. It changed quite a lot. I decided to make flaps and a little band. I don't know. So this is what it looks like from the front. It's got these ear flaps on the sides. It's got a bit of ribbing at the back, and then I made this little flap. It actually has a little snap so that you can open it, but I see that my husband doesn't use that at all. So anyway, he's very happy with the hat. So the double knit version that I made last year is going completely down like this, and it goes straight at the back, so it's quite a lot longer. Goes straight at the back over to that side, so it looks a lot like a helmet. And I was noticing that this part of the hat gets stuck onto his shirt collar, and then I see the hat moving around on his head, and I thought, I think I should change that. So I just decided to change it. I didn't tell him anything. I just made the little flaps, and I said, listen, this is a problem that I've been seeing, so just try it out and let's see. So he put it on, and I could already see that these ear flaps is not going to stay. So we were talking about it, and he said, well, just make a little band and let's see how that works. So he's very impressed with his new hat. It's nice and warm. It's been needed for these past few days. We had a few cold days, especially last week. Friday was extremely cold, and he is wearing it a lot, and he already used it a lot. So yes, I'm very happy with this hat. I did in the meantime ask him if I can make a completely different hat as well, a pattern that viewers of the podcast has kindly sent to me and showed me this other type of hat, and he agreed that I can make him one of those, and we will see how that works. I will share that in an upcoming episode when I start that, and then I'll share the pattern and everything with you as well. So I have finished the chunky hat, but I first want to make the other pattern and make sure if that maybe works very good, then I can just do him, make him a natural yarn hat in that pattern. I did write all of the things down that I did in this hat, so if I really want to replicate it I can, but I'm thinking of trying something else and just see how that works. I mean, it's just more knitting and I enjoy knitting, so I'm gonna try that as well. But luckily this winter still he got a hat that he can use while it's cold. So I'm very happy that this hat has been made, so I will make another one very soon and then we shall see how that turns out. Alright. Oh, and this hat actually only used 68 grams of this chunky yarn. So not a lot at all. I was very surprised that it is so little yarn. But anyway. Alright. So that is everything for the finished projects. So we can now move over to find out what is on my hook and on my needles. Alright, I have 3 projects to share with you that is current works in progress that I'm working on. I did not bring my 2 sewing projects actually because I didn't do too much on them. I thought I might show them when they are finished. So I just brought some knitting and crochet. So my first work in progress that I would like to share is the mittens that I'm making for myself. So in the previous episode I started the mitten and I was up to this point where this stitch marker is from Itsy Klein. It came in one of the sock club boxes this year, and I also started the second one, and I know what you're thinking, they are both done, but they are not done. So this is the right hand mitten that I started with, that I showed you before, and then I also did the left hand mitten. Alright, I absolutely love this. It is so fun to knit something up and see, oh, this is not working, why is it not working, and working out why this is happening and what I can do to change it. So I did redo this mitten top 3 times until I got it right and I was satisfied, but I still need to fix the thumbs on these mittens. I'm unhappy with both of them. So the first one I did, I decreased 2 stitches of the thumb, and I shouldn't have done that. This thumb is just a little bit too snug for my liking. And then I just tried a little bit of a decrease and threading through of stitches to finish the thumb off, and I quite like how this one looks. But then on this one I did not do the decreases, so I've got 2 stitches more on this thumb. But then I decided, but now if I have more stitches, shouldn't I do 2 decreases at the top? And no, I shouldn't have. So I don't like how this thumb looks. It looks very pointy with the extra set of decreases. So I'm going to rip out the left hand mittens thumb decreases and just redo that to be just 1 decrease, and then this thumb I'm going to rip down completely and not do the decreases and knit it back up, and then this will be finished in the next episode because I don't like the way they look right now. Alright, let me see. So this yarn is the Regia Perfect yarn. It is a 75% wool and 25% polyamide. It has 420 meters on 100 grams, and it is a 4-ply yarn. And as you can see, I tried to get my mittens to match. I think I did quite a good job on that. I manipulated the stripes to get the same amount of rounds for the thumbs as I did in here. So I basically joined white back here and then knit until I had the same amount of rounds as I did for the hand part, and then I added the blue, and I did not cut off the white. I just carried it up until I got the right amount of rounds for the blue, and then I started with the white again. But anyway, so that is the mittens. I'm very happy with how they came out. I'm just going to now fix the 2 thumbs, and then that will be done. I am writing up the pattern for this, but I think it's not gonna come very soon because it's gonna still take me a while, because I want to do some more adaptations in this pattern. So this specific pair was knit up with the Knit Pro Smart Sticks DPNs. My gauge actually is looser on the DPNs, so I used a 2.25 millimeter needles for this gloves, and I get the same gauge that I get for that I got on the fingerless gloves that I knitted for my sister-in-law with the Magic Loop 2.5 millimeter needles. So this specific pair has been knit on DPNs and with one size smaller because my gauge is a little bit looser. And I still have a lot of yarn left. This is what I have left of the second glove mitten, and this is what I have left of the first mitten. So I have all of this yarn left. I've not balled up this again, caked it up again, because I still have to fix the thumb. But yes, quite a lot of yarn left. I haven't weighed these yet. I will definitely do that and let you know in the next episode when it is actually finished, how much yarn I actually used for it. Alrighty, so that is the mittens. Then my second knitting project is still the 4-of-a-kind shawl pattern, and I'm knitting the first shawl, which is the Kindness shawl from Brenda Brayfield. Right. I'm knitting this with Knotty Habit Suri alpaca, which is 74% baby Suri alpaca and 26% mulberry silk. This is what it looks like. It's a gorgeous colorway. It almost matches my nails. And in the previous episode I was at this beautiful marker from Annegret from Tunisian Crochet, and this is where I started, and this is how much I've already knitted on this project. I tied this around my neck last night, so like this. And at this moment, I'm very happy to say that I don't feel any itchiness yet. So I really think that this is going to be the one. But I'm going to finish the shawl anyway, because I would like to wear it around my neck for like a day or so and just make 100% sure. I think I'm most probably like 80% through the first section of the shawl. I think you can describe it as divided into 3 sections. So you have the start section, the middle section, and the other. So say for instance the left, the middle, and the right, whatever. So I think I'm about 80% through the first section. I do not have the same amount of meterage as in the pattern, so I tried to work out how many percent of the ball the designer used for her sections, because she did add the grams that she used of the yarn that she was using for the sample that she knit. So I tried to work that into percentages, and I am trying to not use more than 40% of the ball for section 1. And when I weighed it last night, I'm not sure where I was, maybe it was around here somewhere, and I only used like 8 grams of the yarn. So yeah, I'm not completely sure, but I'm almost 80% through it, and I definitely have not used 40% of this yarn cake. So I think if I'm not doing all of the increases as the designer, I will get very close, I think. But anyway, so that is the shawl. This stuff is so gorgeous to work with. I'm imagining it will be the same to work with a strand of cloud, working with this yarn. This stuff is amazing. So yes, this shawl is being knit as a sample to test to see if I can wear Suri alpaca, because all of the other fluffy yarns that I tried to use in the past is scratchy to the point that I cannot actually wear it around my neck. Some of it does not scratch me on my chest, but I mean, if I can't wear it around my neck, if my sweater does that, like this Ranunculus, I will not be able to stand it, and I will not be able to wear it. So rather just get something that actually works or leave it. So I think this is going to work. So I would have loved to be further on this project, but seeing that I had so many projects in the previous episode, I decided to just start from a point and start finishing the projects. So what I did is I worked on all of them a little bit every day, but more on one of them. So I would choose the hat, and just after I did a little bit of knitting in the morning on something else, I would just go for the hat. And after that, I would just go for the Ranunculus and getting it done. It also took me quite a bit of time to knit the cowl that I gave away as a gift. I started it on the 12th of July and I finished it on the 19th. So finished it in 7 days, and I did take the Sunday completely off from it. I didn't touch it on the Sunday. I just worked on scrappy projects. So yes, I am surprised at how quick it actually grows, the shawl particularly, and I'm looking forward to getting it done. At this moment, the shawl is my next focus project, so we shall see how far I get until we talk again in the next episode. Alright, did I mention the needle size? I don't think so. I'm using 3.5mm needles as suggested in the pattern. Even though I'm not using a fingering weight yarn, I'm using this lace weight yarn, but I got more or less the same gauge. I did not block it. There is instructions in the pattern to knit a little block to see how far your gauge is different from the designer. So I did that, and that said to me that my gauge is not that far off. And it's a shawl, so if it's smaller or bigger, it'll still fit around my neck. All right, that is the shawl. Then I actually have no idea where I am with this cowl because I cannot remember. Alright, so I'm also working on a crochet version of the simple shaped cowl, and I am using this yarn, the Kaleidoscope yarns. It is also a 100% superwash merino wool, and it is a single. It's got 360 meters on 100 grams, and there is the colorway name. This is what it looks like in the cake. Beautiful, beautiful color. I really love it a lot. I think my two hanks is a little bit different in color. I think this one is a little bit darker than this one. Not that it's a problem for me. I decided I'm just gonna work until this one is finished and then start this one. And if they are a little bit different, they're a little bit different. That is the beauty of working with hand-dyed yarns. All right. So this is how far I am on this cowl design. Let me put the string at the back. Right. Oh, that is beautiful. Very nice. All right, so the knitted simple shaped cowls is knit from the top down, and for the crochet one, I really wanted my crochet stitches to be right side up, so I decided to start from the bottom up, and this looks as if it's quite smaller here, but it's not really. The reason it looks much more shaped is because this piece of this cowl has already been blocked and it does grow a little bit in width. So I think when it's blocked it will be more like that, maybe. I think so. Anyway, so I was at that stitch marker there from Etsy Klein in the previous episode, and I added that much to the cowl. I think if I remember correctly, this is about a quarter of the cowl already finished, I think so. But anyway, I'm loving how this colorway is crocheting up. It is going quite fast and I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving this fabric. It is so nice. And yes, it's coming along. It's coming along. I am using a 4mm G clover hook for this project. These are my absolute favorite hooks. I got this set from Mincy from Naughty Habit, and I was so happy to find a set. And yeah, this is basically all I use. My other crochet hooks is crying in the corner. These are the only ones that I use. I really love them. All right, so just look at these blues. I hope that it shows up. It's got the most beautiful blue specks and yellow specks in it. So gorgeous. I really love it. Anyway, I am also loving this linen stitch in crochet. It is so beautiful. I'm really enjoying the rhythm of it as well. Very nice. So that is the crochet version of the simple shaped cowl, and I am writing on the pattern as I'm working on this. so it does take a little bit more time working out all of the things. I'm loving this project a lot, and I think after the kindness shawl is finished, this would become a focus project, because I mean the mittens is almost finished, because I just need to fix the thumbs. But anyway, I do have some plans for more projects that I want to make, but I don't want to set definite plans for myself at this moment. I'm just trying to enjoy all of the projects that I'm working on. And I really am. I am at this stage. Alright. I think that is all of the projects that I wanted to show you today. So let's move over to find out what's been happening. Right, what has been happening? I have released 2 new patterns since the previous episode. Actually, the Friday just before the previous episode came out, I released this pattern, which is a Tunisian crochet pattern. It is a little dishcloth. It's called the apiarist dishcloth, and apiarist is a beekeeper or a person who studies and keeps bees. And because this has got this beautiful honeycomb texture, I thought that will be a suitable name. So this pattern is out on Ravelry in my online shop as well as on Etsy, and it is linked down below if you're interested. It just has Tunisian crochet stitches. It's just Tunisian simple stitches, Tunisian pearl stitches, and then the border is just normal conventional crochet with a normal crochet hook. So that one is quite fun. And then I also released the knitting pattern for the simple shaped cowl. This is my sample. That I've already worn a lot. So this one is made with also with the L 50/50, 50% acrylic, 50% superwash wool. And I did write the pattern for this yarn specifically with this cowl. And then because I started the Shaped Cowl journey with acrylic yarn, I decided to include the number of stitches and just a little bit of how I did that in the acrylic yarn, because the acrylic yarn used different stitch amounts, because the acrylic yarn does not grow or get bigger, whereas the merino yarn one, the L 50/50, it did grow about a stitch per 10 centimeters. So when I washed and blocked it, it did grow to the same size as my acrylic ones. So this is the one of the acrylic ones. This one was made with L Pure Gold. I think the colorway, I cannot remember. No, can't remember the colorway. But I love this one. I really, really love this one. So this one I'm wearing a lot. And then if you have been with the podcast for a little while, last year I unpacked my whip-in, and the first shawl that I made before I shaped them, I re-knit in the shaped version. So this is the one that I re-knit to be shaped. And this is also the L Pure Gold 100% acrylic yarn. I think they have 258 or 256 meters on 100 grams. And I used, for both of these, I used just less than 2 balls. So around about 200 grams. But as I said, I did add a paragraph into the pattern, and I explained how many stitches I used to make the acrylic ones, and how long I knit them, and those types of informations, and what the gauge is on them, and what needles I used, and how long I knit them, and then how much yarn I used for both these samples. So I did add these two as projects for the pattern, so that when you buy the pattern or look at the pattern on Ravelry, it is linked so that you can get more yarn ideas on making this cowl in other yarns. I am planning in future to make one in a 100% merino yarn in the double knit. I just haven't decided what yet and how yet, but I'm thinking of making another version so that it's a little bit different than what you would expect. So whenever I get time to do that, I'm definitely going to make another one. But in the meantime, I have this 3 to wear, and I really love them. So I did, as I said, release the pattern, and when I was releasing the cowl pattern, I added a coupon code to the pattern in any one of the 3 shops, my online shop, the Etsy shop, and the Ravelry store. And I decided I'm going to extend the period of the 15% discount so that I can tell you in the podcast, and so that you can still have time to get the pattern with the discount code, because this podcast will go up on Saturday morning, and if you watch it on Saturday or on Sunday, you can still get the 15% discount by using the code Cozy Cowl and in any one of the 3 shops, and you will get 15% off. So the discount code is valid until the end of Sunday. Right, so as you saw, I'm still working on the crochet version of the cowl, and that'll also come sometime in the future. I've been crazy busy with baking and household things and just life stuff, as we all are. Yes, it's been a very busy 2 weeks, but I got quite a lot done, and I'm very happy and grateful for that. Let's talk Scrappy Sunday chats. So every month, my friend Leonie from Independence Yarn Craft and I usually have an episode talking about all of the scrappy projects that we have been making for the past month, and we usually share some scrappy project inspiration from some patterns and all of the things that we are making. But unfortunately, this month, the month of July, we will not be having a Scrappy Sunday Chats episode. Life has just been crazy and we are unable to do it this month. So we will be back next month and we will chat to you about the scrappy projects next time. So unfortunately, this month there will be no Scrappy Sunday Chats, but we will see you next month, and we will be back with all of the scrappy goodness. I will now be putting the podcast recommendations for you on the screen as well, as I usually do, and I will link them both down below for you so that you can check it out if you're interested. And I think that is everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you are new here, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you will consider sticking around. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see any more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.